Let's be real. First dates can be painfully awkward. You're sitting across from a stranger, nerves on edge, wondering what to say next. But what if I told you there's a way to make it effortless, natural, even exciting? Today, I'll give you 3 simple tricks that will make your first dates smooth and unforgettable. Touch is one of the most powerful tools for creating instant connection, yet most people avoid it on first dates out of fear of seeming too forward. This hesitation, however, often leads to an awkward and forced interaction later. The longer you wait to introduce touch, the more unnatural it feels when you finally do. A first date should feel like a gradual, natural progression of connection, and touch is an essential part of that process. The key is to start small and make it feel organic rather than forced. A warm hug when you greet them immediately sets a tone of warmth and comfort. It tells the other person, "I'm comfortable with you, and you should feel comfortable with me." A handshake or a distant, formal greeting creates unnecessary tension and distance that can be difficult to overcome as the date progresses. Once the initial touch is established, it should be subtly and naturally reinforced throughout the date. Light, non-invasive touches help build comfort. A simple tap on the arm when making a point, a playful nudge during a shared laugh, or briefly placing your hand on their back as you guide them through a doorway all contribute to a subconscious sense of closeness. These small gestures remove the stranger element and introduce familiarity, which makes the entire interaction feel more relaxed. When touch is introduced naturally from the start, any further escalation, whether it's holding hands, sitting close, or eventually a kiss, feels like the next logical step rather than a dramatic leap. Sitting arrangement is another overlooked yet crucial element of making a date feel natural rather than structured or uncomfortable. Sitting directly across from each other may seem like the most logical option, but in reality, it often creates a forced, almost interrogative atmosphere. The direct eye contact at all times, the pressure to maintain constant conversation, and the inability to escape even the briefest silences make this setup one of the worst choices for first dates. Instead, positioning yourself next to your date or at a slight angle immediately changes the dynamic. Sitting adjacent to each other, like on a park bench, a booth, or even at a bar counter, makes the interaction feel more casual and allows for a more natural flow of conversation. It also eliminates the feeling of performing or being scrutinized, replacing it with a shared experience. This positioning also makes it easier to introduce subtle touch without it feeling forced. Instead of awkwardly reaching across the table, casual touches happen effortlessly when sitting next to each other. This also helps with body language. Rather than facing each other head-on, a slightly angled or side-by-side position allows for smoother transitions between moments of talking and moments of silence. If a natural lull in conversation occurs, it doesn't feel as awkward because both people can comfortably shift their attention to something else in their environment before seamlessly returning to each other. This removes the tension that often arises when silence feels like a test, rather than a normal part of an interaction. An environment that fosters natural conversation and engagement is just as important as body language and touch. Many first dates fail because the setting places too much pressure on the conversation itself. A quiet dinner with nothing else to focus on forces 2 people to carry the entire weight of the experience through dialogue alone. If either person feels nervous or struggles to keep the conversation flowing, the date can quickly feel forced, stagnant, or worse, downright awkward. Instead, an environment that provides external points of interest makes it easier to create shared experiences and natural conversation. Walking along a scenic area, visiting a museum, attending a casual event, or even just sitting somewhere with a lot of external activity gives both people something to react to and talk about. This naturally removes pressure and allows moments of silence to feel like part of the experience, rather than something that needs to be fixed. People watching, reacting to something happening nearby, or engaging with the environment makes the date feel more dynamic and less like a rigid back-and-forth conversation. It also allows personality to shine in a more natural way. Rather than both people feeling like they are being interviewed, the date becomes a shared exploration of something interesting. This approach works particularly well for those who struggle with nervousness or social anxiety. When the focus is not entirely on maintaining conversation, it allows both people to relax and enjoy the experience without the constant internal dialogue of, "What should I say next?" External stimuli give easy conversational jumping points. If a conversation naturally dies down, something happening around you provides a seamless way to restart it. This also creates a sense of shared adventure, which is a powerful bonding experience. A first date should not feel like a test. It should feel like two people naturally discovering their chemistry with one another in an effortless way. A first date does not begin when two people meet at a location. It begins the moment anticipation is built. A key mistake many people make is treating a first date as something that just happens, rather than something that can be intentionally shaped before it even starts. The way a date is framed beforehand can significantly influence how comfortable and exciting it feels. Creating a sense of playful anticipation before the date builds intrigue and sets a positive tone. A flirty message leading up to the date, a hint about a fun surprise, or even a confident statement like, "I have a feeling this is going to be a great time," plants the idea that this will be an enjoyable, effortless experience. This also makes both people look forward to the date in a way that removes nervousness and replaces it with excitement. Anticipation is a powerful psychological tool. When people expect something to be fun, they subconsciously find ways to make it so. The way the date is presented before it even happens can influence how it plays out. When both people enter the date with an already established sense of lightness and excitement, the dynamic is completely different from one where both are cautiously feeling each other out with uncertainty. Confidence is the final and perhaps most critical factor in eliminating awkwardness on a first date. Most awkwardness stems not from actual discomfort, but from a lack of self-assurance. When someone feels at ease with themselves, that energy transfers to the other person. A confident presence naturally relaxes the interaction, making everything feel more fluid. Confidence is not about arrogance or trying to impress. It's about being comfortable in your own skin. This comfort then allows the other person to feel at ease as well. One of the simplest ways to project confidence is to take the lead in a way that feels natural. Rather than asking vague questions like, "What do you want to do?" or "Where do you want to go?" which can create unnecessary indecision, suggesting a plan with certainty eliminates hesitation and sets a confident tone. Even something as simple as saying, "Let's grab a drink at this great spot, I know, you're going to love it," makes the interaction feel smoother and more effortless. A confident frame creates an environment where both people can relax, knowing the date is already set up to flow naturally. When you combine all these elements, introducing touch early and naturally, choosing the right seating arrangement, selecting an environment that fosters effortless conversation, building anticipation before the date even begins, and maintaining an energy of confidence, the result is a date that feels smooth, fun, and free of awkwardness. There is no need for forced small talk, unnecessary pressure, or uncomfortable silences when the interaction is set up in a way that encourages natural connection. A first date should never feel like a test. It should feel like the exciting beginning of something great. The difference between an awkward date and a fantastic one is not luck, it's intention. The way you shape the experience from the moment it begins determines everything that follows. With the right approach, first dates become less about navigating potential awkwardness and more about creating a moment that both people genuinely enjoy.